everyone, and welcome to Ravenzcraft Arts Magic Channel. This will be episode 1 in a series of interviews. I got lucky enough to sit down with a couple of really cool, influential people that are involved in the pagan arts and spirituality. I'm all about the movement of self-awareness and becoming the best you can be, and really taking charge of your own life and going out and doing things and taking care of your business, man. You can really back yourself up with a good belief and a foundation. And I had a sit down and a talk with a couple people about this, and they seemed to agree with me. And in sitting down doing these interviews, I found that I really learned a lot myself. The point of creating this series of interviews was to empower and inspire all of you out there, but sitting down personally talking with all these people has really inspired me to keep doing what I'm doing, and I just hope that you guys are touched by this and you listen closely, and we'll keep making good things. I also have a couple surprise interviews I know that everyone will be very excited to listen to, so stay tuned, keep watching. I thank you all for tuning in. And this first interview is about a good friend of mine. I've been talking with him through online messaging and stuff like that for the past couple months. He's very influential and supportive. His name is Frater Ophiel, and he runs a group called the Academy of the Magical Art. If you haven't heard of him, I will put some links in the description and hook everything up there. I really recommend you do. I've learned quite a bit from him myself. I did have a little problem with the sound quality in a few of the videos. I figured it out as I went along, so bear with me. The first interview we have is with Frater Ophiel. Let's sit down and see what he has to say. First off, I just want to welcome you to the first round of sessions on Ravenzcraft Arts interviews. This is Frater Ophiel from the Academy of Magical Art. He's everywhere online on Facebook. He has a YouTube channel as well, and I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you, Tim, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Awesome to be able to get together with you here.
Yeah, I kind of set up a round of questions I've been asking everybody to kind of get the same idea of what's going on, and I just wanted to ask you kind of what area of do you practice, and kind of maybe a label, if you could, of what you do and what you practice.
Okay. Well, I mainly practice a lot of ceremonial magic, or what a lot of people would call hermetic magic as well. I study and apply a lot of the principles and laws of the universe, and consciously try to integrate them into my life, so that we all, being divine creatures, I being one of them, can have the most control over the outcome of my life rather than just going on autopilot.
Right. I agree with you there, man. A lot about learning about this is about, taking control of yourself and being self-aware, and, realizing that you are in control of everything that's happening, and, you can make good things happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The universe being a mental construct, from my point of view, I believe that we live in a holographic universe where we are all one with everything. The universe that we live in, a direct reflection of the mind state. We have control over the situations that we put ourselves in, how we react to them, and can direct every outcome of our life by the decisions that we make and the mindset that we have towards them.
Right. Do you have certain daily things that you do, or?
Absolutely. Every day I have a sequence of techniques that I go through to keep myself in proper mental and energetic. So do yoga every morning to stretch out my body, concentrate on my breathing, get everything flowing properly. And then sometime either in the morning, at night before I go to bed, or both, I will also do an age-old classic of the left advantage ritual, which really cleanses a lot of the area around it, and helps protect the bell, as well as the middle pillar ritual, and some inclinations to help protect and shield myself as I walk through.
Right, when you when you mention these rituals, I kind of meant, that's, you can look those up online and you see, it seems pretty extensive, for new learners and newcomers. It seems way too complicated, and it seems like there's so many guidelines, and it seems like they think you have to follow these rules or else you're doing it wrong. And I'm trying to, bring it out to the fact that there is no right or wrong way. It's, if it makes you feel good and it motivates you, it's good,
Sure. Yes, there are a lot of right ways to do these things. Everybody does some things. For instance, my wife goes through all of this time. It takes time to meditate, and her being a very right-brained person, she connects well with the visualizations of her meditations. Whereas I, being very left-brained, I focus a lot on concept. For people that are new and upcoming, understanding that learning the process is just as good and just as important as the process itself. It will have just the fact that you consciously know that it's what you're trying to do. Or in the instance of middle pillar, you are intoning these vibrations, drawing through your body, seeing these areas light up. That's going to take effect.
Right. It's the simple fact of knowing that you did something to, empower yourself, that pushes you along the day, that you made those, movements or actions. That itself will help you.
Exactly. It's the visualization. A lot of magicians that I speak with, though a good friend of mine, for instance, he hasn't really used a ritual tool for probably 5 or 10 years because he understands that these are part of his body. Because waving of his arm or just thinking about the action is just as powerful as somebody going into a temple, putting a robe on, taking out the ritual dagger, doing a ceremony. That's
right.
The intention we're putting behind it that holds the power, not the physical object or the way that you're intoning these things. Yes, it does have an effect, the vibrations and the frequency of the intonations. However, the thought really.
Right, I kind of have, I got kids and stuff, and I have a busy life, so I kind of do, simple rituals in the morning, like before they get up, just kind of a short thing, with a candle or some herbs, It's just, you think about what you want, and, you focus on it, and you hope it comes, and it basically, that's pretty much it, it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And it can improve your life. It does. I notice it, and I just, want to hear how it's improved your life. And, what age were you when you started realizing how it started really affecting you?
My magical path was actually rather different. I started studying the magical arts, philosophy, ways of approaching things, ranging from, I studied basic Wicca when I was in my 14. I started getting into alchemy and hermetics when I was a little bit later in life. I started noticing myself going from a broken child to a empowered divine being, realizing our nature, realizing what it is to go hard, and as individuals, understanding myself personally, learning astrology, numerology, meditation, ways to go inside, is really when I started to find my answers.
Right, it's about self-awareness, basically learning what you really want and going for it. It's about finding out what you like and what you want to do, really, and it really helps figure that out. I noticed that.
A lot of people find a lack of satisfaction in their life because they don't know what and who it is that they are. I was just speaking with my nephew last night, that a large part of his problem is that he doesn't understand his purpose. And I very basically told him, well, if you understand what gives you joy, what you enjoy doing, and if you understand certain aspects of your astrology, like your norse mode, where you are led, you will figure out your life's purpose in that path. Many times people will find that they find out what their purpose is by learning what their purpose is, and if you're walking down the wrong place. However, you don't have to do that.
Right, I found myself, stuck in like that too. It's like you're, you know, half building a bunch of things, and then that 10 years goes by and you got a bunch of half-built stuff instead of just really embracing one thing and focusing on it, and at the end you got a huge temple or pyramid built, you know?
Right, exactly. You know, so it's really that aspect of self-awareness, learning who you are, understanding what your true nature is, in the building of your personal temple, not as an external room, but as something that is alive within you.
Right. Right, and I think once you can touch into, you know, what your goal is and what you're good at, that's what I think, you know, you can apply to your life now, like going to work, starting a business. That's what it did for me. Like, it all started with me studying spiritualism and figuring out who I am and building my confidence, and now I'm putting together 2 businesses and, you know, doing a lot of stuff that I would have never done before.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. When you had shared that story with me, I was elated because that's exactly what we want to see happen. Is we want to be able to see ourselves going from one state and transmuting and transforming ourselves into a completely different state that we want to see ourselves in. It is the alchemical process of great work. As you transform, your life transforms around you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm experiencing it. I know it's real. And, you know, I kind of started with Asatru, and that was my foundation. And it kind of, you know, I work with the Norse circle of gods like Odin and Tyr and stuff like that. And, you know, I did my thing, and I've kind of asked them for knowledge and to motivate me, and it kind of pushed me towards ceremonial magic, the occult, and other systems. And at first I felt guilty, you know, like, hey, should I be studying this? But, you know, I think it's all part of the process. Like you said, you have to evolve, especially with times today. It's almost like a Gnostic type of thing where there's a bit of truth in everything, you know. You have to kind of be open to everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are many paths, and none of them are entirely wrong. There are bits of truth in every single one of them. You know, I actually spent a good amount of my practice, and I still do, working with the Norse gods as well. And the wisdom that these divine intelligences hold are life changing when you open yourself up to receiving them.
Yeah, I've noticed personally that, you know, they are giving, but they are harsh. Like, they'll punish you and you'll pay for it, you know what I mean? It's kind of, you have to tread carefully, you know. It's all about reprogramming yourself, you know. It's really amazing what it can do once you figure it out.
Right. Well, you know, I oftentimes find it kind of amusing because I usually say the God's got jokes because they do. When you hindsight is always 20/20, and when you look back at something and say, you know what, I really knew better and I chose to do it anyways, and then I got held accountable. They don't hold you accountable until you know better.
Yeah. It's like
You know,
that's the lesson. You have to fail because you won't learn otherwise. It's strange. It's a very beat you up process, but it's very beneficial if you can get through it. I've posted in a lot of groups, and they're kind of like, hey, this isn't Asatru, this is more Wicca or occult, and they kind of get angry about it. And it's like, hey, you know, it's all about the same thing, really. It's just basically how you want to perceive it in your mind. You know, there was a group where they were arguing about the color of the god's hair, you know, and it's just like funny because they don't understand what a god is, you know. It's so it can work in other ways too. I don't like that, you know. I'm trying to promote openness and understanding of all, and, you know, empowering yourself with that.
absolutely. Well, you know, Tim, that's where a lot of the invisible fence that's put around us in our minds and our realities comes from, is that division. When you begin to look at things like the principle of polarity and becoming depolarized, you see that people bickering over these little things does nothing but divide them. And we are only truly empowered as one when we are united.
Yeah.
When we understand that it's just different degrees of the same thing, whether you're looking at Norse theology, Gaelic theology, Egyptian theology, you know, these pantheons, they are all the same. You know, when you look at the Egyptian Thoth and the Greek Hermes, do they not represent the same energy? Are they not both representations of Mercury? people can bicker back and forth about which one's better, which one's worse, but they're the same. There is no difference.
Right.
There's differences in the culture that speak of them and how they visualize them. There's differences in the mind behind this entity. When you look at more Gnostic ways of thought, and you look at the pantheons as being tulpas, created beings through our minds so that we can resonate and harmonize with specific energies coming at us, it takes a little bit of a different spin. So that leaves me saying, well, again, there is no difference. There's only mind. There's consciousness. The colors that we put on the consciousness are really irrelevant, so why fight about them?
Yeah.
Well, I have Discord.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I try not to argue with the people, and I try to remove myself from the situation. I try to open them, but they're so closed to that point and stuck in that. I don't like seeing that with the new group, and I see a lot of that lately, and I'm just trying to get away from that. I wanted to ask you how, if you had family members that were Catholic or Christian, or, didn't practice the same things you do, and kind of how you did it, or if you hid it from them and kind of just bit your tongue and did it their way, or you know what I mean?
Well, actually, it's funny because my family is extraordinarily Pentecostal. So I was the black sheep in every avenue possible, to the point where my mother is still genuinely terrified that my eternal soul is going to go and burn in a place called hell. It's silly to me, but this is her reality that she's living in, and she acts out of fear. So there are things that we do not discuss. Religion is one of them. I told her when I was 18 that she had been shoving the Bible so far down my throat that when I was old enough to think to myself, I puked it up all over. That upset her, but now I've actually gone back and taken the time to redigest a lot of the stuff that is in that book, because a lot of it is good, just like any other hope book. I actually am also a Mason, so I understand or look at the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran all as being holy books, and I don't hold one over the other. I understand that these people all have the way they believe, and I have the way that I believe. So in my home, yes, we do gifts exchanges and stuff like that, but we celebrate Yule. We don't celebrate Christmas or call it that, even though it is one and the same. It's just the way we kind of operate. My nephew actually just came to live with me because he also is a very, very independent thinker, and just asked me one day, hey, can I come stay with you? Well, sure. So it's basically creating a holy war in my family because of it, just because there is this huge division because of dogma.
Yeah, and it's like you feel this guilt that you shouldn't, should I, like with my kids, it's like, okay, I want to tell them about Yule and, about the whole Odin as Santa Claus thing, and it's like you feel guilty about, maybe ruining their illusion of Christmas and, the public society, and you shouldn't feel that way, but it's for some reason you feel guilty about breaking that public society thought,
Well, realistically, in my opinion, the younger the better. Why have a child programmed only to have that brainwashing broken later? I know that me personally, when I looked and realized that my mother had been lying to me for 6 or 7 years about the existence of Santa Claus and he's not coming down my chimney, I felt betrayed. So my wife and I, we have 4 kids, and all of them were raised to understand standard, public, more accepted belief, and they were raised to understand the way that we believe, and they are free to choose for themselves.
Well, see, what I've come to realize, though, like the whole Santa Claus thing, like if you believe it, it is real. So with Odin, if it's a collective consciousness, it's real. As long as you yourself fully believe it, it is real, and that's what it's about.
Sure, absolutely, but it wasn't the matter of whether or not Santa Claus was real. It was the fact that I've been telling you this for X amount of years, and now I'm telling you that I've been lying to you the whole time. That kind of caused something to break inside of my brain.
Yeah.
Now I look at it a little bit differently. That yes, you have the minds of thousands of children concentrating on Santa Claus. You can't tell me that he doesn't exist.
Right. because
You know,
in their
sure,
in their
some guy
world,
breaking
he is
out.
real. Like, there's so many children on this planet that maybe more. So basically, he is real in a sense. You know what I mean? Because there's more people that believe him than don't.
Right. And they believe in him to such a degree that he brings joy and a sense of tangible reality to these children.
Right. That
When you
spirit.
step into their shoes and look at life through their eyes, he is a very, very real.
Yeah.
I just don't think that somebody's going to break into my house in the middle of the night, but just because he's real doesn't mean he's in physical form.
Right. Yeah.
There's lots of different ways to look at this. It's really just a matter of what in our home with our kids, we give them all the information and allow them to choose what's right for them.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of notice a combativeness. I have a range of kids. I have 4 kids as well, and one of them's older, like 15, and he's really, everything I say, he's got a little logical, scientific explanation to it, or opposite, so it can get bad sometimes, but, it's good, I think, to hash it out and kind of learn. That's how you learn the truth.
Yep. Actually, our youngest son is 14. And he also knows pretty much everything. So I love the conversations that we have because, yes, they can be dissonant, and there's a lot that I can learn from him, just like there's a lot of stuff that he can learn from me. So really being open to these opposing viewpoints does not make me right and him wrong. I've gotten to the point where I almost value a lot of the talks that we get into. The one hairy situation was during the election because we did have opposing viewpoints with that, where I said, what, realistically, I don't like any of them. It's like sticking your finger into an electric socket and seeing which one's going to shock you worse. But he was very, very polarized in his belief.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole election thing is a whole polarizing aspect. Like, why is it even separated as Republican and Democrat? Why can't it just be like, look, let's choose a good person to run our country together? Not, it's so strange how they divide. It's a whole divide mindset. It's really strange.
Because the people divide is the people conquer.
Yeah, exactly. And
people control.
Yeah. And it's like this whole flat earth theory, all this stuff that's going on, it's just like, hey, maybe the earth isn't flat, but it's the whole idea that they're giving us our reality and it's not what's really there, It's,
yep.
I understand that they have to control us. You have to control the masses. You have to tell them something to keep control, but, there's some of us like you and me that know that it's not the complete truth and there's more to it,
Yep. That's actually an interesting topic because a very, very good friend of mine would be considered a flat earther.
Yeah, I think I am too, from what I've seen.
What's that?
I said I would consider myself a flat earther as well, from what I've seen. I just wanted to add that as well.
Well, you can't tell me that if I stand in one spot, even if there were magma in the middle of the earth or not, if I stand in one spot and I'm going to dig straight down, I'm going to fall feet first into the sky of China.
Right.
It's not going to work.
That's what I came up with. Like, you're going to dig a hole and you drop a penny and you're telling me it drops into the sky? That does not make any sense.
Right. Really, what having him in my life has allowed me to do is say, okay, maybe the earth isn't a ball. Maybe it isn't flat. Either way, they're not telling us all the information. They're lying to us. They're paying NASA $52 million a day to lie to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit silly. I know that in astral projection, out of body experiences, I've never personally been able to get past a certain point off the earth, and I've never seen the ball.
I hate to cut you off, but that brings me to a point. Like, how the ancients, how did they know about all these planets that they didn't have the telescopes to see that we have now,
right.
But they knew about them. How? That's through astral travel and thought and meditation. And, there's no way that they could have known those planets existed, but somehow they did. And that's,
right.
I'm realizing that, and that's just crazy to me,
And these same ancients knew this much about the sky, something that they couldn't understand. How did they also know that the earth is flat?
Right.
What makes them wrong and us right?
Yeah.
It's really an interesting subject that I refuse to take a polarized view on just because it can pull you so far down one rabbit hole or the other that I just say, you know what, it is what it is, and from my vantage point, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's almost like
I'm used to the government line for me.
Yeah, it's a big argument that never ends. But yeah, to
Right.
kind of get back to our topic, though, I mean, I kind of asked you before the interview if there was anything you wanted to, say to the community, or, anything you can, express to the people or community today that, what we can do to empower ourselves, or, kind of make our lives better.
Sure. Yeah, I did give that some thought before we talked. And, I know that for a lot of people, at least a lot of people in my personal proximity, 2016 has been a pretty rough year. And with any situation, no matter what it is, the stance that we take in our mind to it will directly affect the road that we go down as a result of it. So understanding and keeping in mind that we are divine beings, we are creators, the paradigm within which we live is a direct reflection of our mental state, really takes a different spin on the events happening. Keeping the mindset of I am a divine being, I am one with everything, and I need to keep my mind in a certain place because of what I am thinking and how I am doing these situations will change them. So I can look at them as being horrible, I can look at them as being lessons, I can look at them as being blessings, and they will become whatever it is.
Yeah.
So keep a hone blade on your mind. Keep it sharp and keep it focused and keep it going in one direction. Because I actually used the allegory to one of my friends recently. The mind is like a tool. It is a running chainsaw. It's nearly impossible to just grab it and cause it to shut. You have to shut off. You have to do it right, and it can cut something down for production, and it can be extraordinarily devastating. So it's important that we keep a handle on it always.
Yeah.
And in doing that and keeping a conscious inventory of our thoughts and how we are viewing the situations that we are in, everybody has the potential to lead happy, successful, fulfilling lives.
Yeah, I totally
Continue
agree
to
with you
support
on that
yourself. Continue to understand yourself more, and in doing so, you will understand the world around you, and always look inward. Don't ever look outward.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's a great metaphor, the chainsaw thing. Like, you're right, man. It can be dangerous if you let it beat you up. You got to learn how to empower it and how to use it. Otherwise, the energies will tear you up, man. It's a rough world. It's real, but when you learn how to work with it, it becomes easier and it gets better.
Yep. Well, it's the difference between feeling like the walls are going to crash down around you and being able to take hold of the walls, build a solid house, and then go out and start your new businesses right after.
Exactly.
It's all with the thought.
Exactly, man.
It's all with the thought.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I didn't want to drag this out too long. I'm so glad we got to do this. I've been a follower of yours on YouTube since the start, so I encourage you to keep doing more because you seem like a pretty knowledgeable person and what you're doing is good. And I just want to thank you again for doing this interview, and I will be in touch with you.
Yes, Tim, thank you so much. It was awesome talking to you, and we will definitely talk to you soon. I look forward to it.